Saturday, yes. Hi, hello, welcome, Doodle Crew. It's Saturday. We're back with Saturday morning cartoons. We haven't had one in a while, but we're back. I'm very excited. I'm excited about this. Today we're doing Cartoon Pipeline, which is my creative terminology for I want to make Maegan color my stuff. Very, very excited. So we are doing, I got a sketch from Maegan that I'm going to take and turn into a model sheet for a character, and I gave her a model sheet of my character that she's going to clean up and make beautiful with color. So we are very, very, very smally replicating what it would be like to work in a studio where you have multiple people who work on the same project. But before we get into too much specifics, who are you? Where can they find you? What all cool things do you have going right now? Because I know you always have cool things going on.
Hi, I'm Maegan. You can find me online at Maegan C Creates, mostly on Instagram. Right now, in the month of October, I'm just working on a couple of witchy things to be posting weekly, and I'm also running weekly sales in my Etsy shop.
Heck
So,
yeah.
different deal every week. Check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was so excited. I bought a notepad from you back at one of the shows earlier, and I've been using it because it's all like it's a cute little kitty cat with a pumpkin, and I love it. Yeah. Yeah, and hey, so wait, I have a thing for that. Look at that. There's the link. If you want to go and get cool stuff, that's the link to do it. I had it ready. All right, and you can find me at a Swan named Emily all across the internet. Yeah, I'm trying. That's what I've got. I have an Etsy shop too. I am not running a sale because I can't get my stuff together, but it's there if you want it. I am doing some Rolltober stuff, so I'm trying to do an October drawing challenge. It's going about as well as you would expect, but hey, maybe by November you'll get to see all my sketches. But if you want to follow me and find out when I post stuff, that's the link to do it. So I'm going to switch over so you can actually see the cool sketch that I got. Yeah. I'm so excited. Yeah. So it's fun. I feel like actually, I have a two-part question. So as a creator now, I do a lot of collaboration stuff, but I don't get to do a lot of taking someone else's character and getting to play with them. Usually I'm getting more on the end of someone will describe their D&D character to me and then I will illustrate it. So Maegan, I know you do a ton of collaborative stuff from a writing end, from a drawing end. You do all of the things. So I'm going to let you talk about that because you do more than I do. Just in general.
Just in general,
Yes.
collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super fun to be able to take ideas and then work with somebody else or even a team of people and get it from start to finish. I know when I was working on graphic novels with artists as the writer, um, everybody works a little bit different. I had one artist that I could just give them like the script outline and they'd run with it, show me the thumbnails and sketches, and I'd be like, awesome. Or maybe tweak it here, we're good to go. And then I had another artist that wanted page by page thumbnails. So it was interesting to have those two completely different work styles to work with. And then on the artist side, illustrating the one children's book I did, um, I worked kind of in the same way, but opposite, where I sent thumbnails to the writer to be approved and then went with sketches and finished products. So it's fun. It's fun to try to get on the same page as someone. And I know I've worked with clients too, all kind of all over the board, where some people have a great idea of what they want and good direction. And some people are like, I want you to draw a hat, but it needs to be a super fancy hat, but not too fancy and kind of gothic. Okay.
Yep, those are the ones where they utter the phrase, which I understand where it comes from and I can appreciate it as a phrase, but it's the I'll know it when I see it and I know what I don't like. And I'm like, yes, those are not as helpful as you might think.
It's like, but I don't know what you don't like
I know.
unless I give it to you and then you're like, I don't like that, and then I won't do that again. But that's
Yeah.
not really getting you towards what you're gonna like.
Yeah, and it's so tough in that scenario because like, if I have a client who I think is going to be indecisive like that, I will often not put as much time and effort into the initial sketches because I know we're going to go through a few rounds of this. So if I tap out and put all my energy into these first drafts, then I'm not going to have anything left for, drafts 5, 6, and 7. But then the feedback I always get is like, well, it doesn't look finished. I'm like, correct, because it is not finished. Because I don't want to make 18 finished pieces for you to finally decide that number 19 is the one that you want.
Oh, I try my best. I'll be like, "Look, I'm happy to give you, like, 5 rough sketches, and you can pick the direction that," especially with logo creation, if they really don't know what they want. It's like, "I'll do you 5 sketches, tell me which direction you wanna go in," and I had one client go, "I don't need 5 versions of the logo, I just need 1," and not the same thing, "None of these look finished," and I'm like, "Oh, no."
Yep. Yeah, I think it's interesting because working in a professional field that required me to create a lot of logos, there's a lot of time spent educating the client about how to be a better client. And I can appreciate that if they go and do this with somebody else, it'll probably go better. But boy, do I get tired of educating at a certain point. I'm just like, okay, yep, here's the words we can use that will help me. Here's words we're not going to use because make it pop doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't. Make it pop is just a statement. It doesn't tell me anything.
Does that mean bolder colors? Like, more strong typography? Do you want a different composition? Like, it's very broad, very broad.
Well, hey, Limey, you say if you're in the market for it, you got two people you could tap right here. All right. Yeah, it's funny, and I've been describing it recently because I've been talking about doing a lot of logo design and stuff like that, and it's, at least for me, it's very much a puzzle. Like, I know that it can be solved. I know that we have all the pieces. It's just figuring out which order and which consistency they all go together in that makes it work. But there are definitely times where I'm just like, okay, we're 6 logos deep and I don't know that we're closer, but okay. Wow. I do like it. I like the challenge of that. Because then I think also when you've gone through that, when the client's finally like, oh my gosh, that's it, you're like, yes.
Oh, it's the most satisfying thing in the world. Like, yes, that is the one.
Yep. So Hebe, how are you feeling? I saw that you were fighting some ick.
Oh.
Yeah. I know with all of the crazy weather that we've had up here, my allergies have been going bonkers. Good. Hey, 85%, that's pretty good. Take that.
It's passing.
Yeah. That's a solid B.
Yeah.
Oh, sinus infection. Yuck.
Those are the worst.
That was weird.
Where'd you go? I looked up and I'm like, it's just me. Hi.
I didn't touch anything. I didn't do anything. It's just like, make sure your internet's working. I'm like, okay. Oh, that's exciting. Okay. I'm living for this fantastic hair swoop that's happening. But
I was like, you know what the world needs? We need to bring back the Keone hairstyle. Let's just do that.
here for it. Also, the amount of time as a child and even a little bit more grown-up child that I spent trying to put my hair in that low like ponytail so that nope, it doesn't work like that in real life. And I was just like, why? So much time. Okay. So I was going to ask you, but it feels like a very loaded question of which do you prefer, being writer or being artist or doing it all yourself? Because I feel like it's, well, some days it's one thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like that actually. So what I have found is overall I could draw like whenever I feel like it,
Mm-hmm.
or even when I don't feel like it. Um,
Often. Yep.
but
Relatable.
writing takes some prep. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, I really have to be like in the mood to write, or I really have to like push myself if I'm not. Um, but I have found lately with the projects and stuff I'm picking, like doing all of the creation parts. Um, so like the webcomic I've started scripting out, I'm like really excited and I'm still working out character design. I thought I had it. What happened was I thought I had my main character set. Like I've drawn her a few times. I'm happy with her. And then I had the brilliant idea when I was making her model sheet to give her bangs. And it's just ruined it. It's just ruined it.
It's literally every person going through like emotional turmoil and they're like, I'm gonna give myself bangs. And you're like, don't do it.
And now I have to rethink everything.
Oh, I don't love your misery, but I love that story. Oh, that's fantastic.
I mean, she looks great with bangs, but it's like I've already started drawing you for like other illustrations and stuff, and now you've like changed your hair on me, and I thought of another plot point after this happened that I wasn't planning on doing, and now I'm frustrated.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, I've definitely had those moments, and it's usually when you're at like 70% complete with an illustration. All of a sudden, you're like, this element would be so good. It would make the composition look really good. Like all of these things, but you're like, do I literally go back to like changing this whole part that's already painted in. And I was like, but now that I know it's going to be better, I can't not do it.
What I find drives me crazy is like when I do something, like especially with like digital coloring, if I do something a little bit different and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then like a few months later, I'll be like, oh, what did I do in that one thing that turned out really cool? Like which blending thing did I change? And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what I did.
Well, I've at least like I've gotten to a point where I've made a specific folder for like all of my digital sketches and warm-ups and for different things I'm trying so that I can just go to this one spot to look at all. And I even pulled it up recently. I was like, I don't even remember when I drew this, but this was like clearly this was going someplace cool. I'm like, it's now become a digital sketchbook. Like this is me finding 18 different sketchbooks that have half drawn things in them. I was like, what a great idea. I wonder what I was trying to do.
Well, I have to tell you, you are working on one of mine. I have no idea what I was developing that character for, or if it was just an idea, and I'm just like, I don't know. But she was in my digital sketches, and I was like, this was a really cool idea. I don't know what it was for or anything, but sure,
Yep.
we'll go with this.
Yep. Are you planning to do NaNoWriMo this year?
I am not, but
Okay.
only because right now I have a major project going. I'm hosting my first collaborative zine.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm so excited.
So, I'm going to probably be spending November in layout paradise. We'll just say paradise.
Paris. Yes, we're in Tahiti. If anybody asks, we're in Tahiti. No, I'm super excited. I'm in the super secret Discord for it, so I get to see a lot of the works in progress on it. It looks so dope.
I'm so excited. I haven't seen anybody share their whips yet, but there should be previews eventually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. I've definitely gotten a lot of rough sketches. A couple of people are already to like color blocking and everything, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
I can't say anything because I haven't even finished my story, like my rough draft for my story.
Hey man, that's the bonus about being the creator of it. Welcome to every episode of Doodle Crew where I do no prep, get everybody else set, and then wing it. Yeah. Spoilers, people. If you thought I prepped, okay, really though, if you watch this and you think I prepped, drop a comment if you think I was prepping for all of this. Last Limey says, ooh, says, I'm doing similar, finding a pad of random story ideas and trying to decide if one will be NaNoWriMo. Yay! Exciting, exciting. Ooh, hey, I should save. Okay, so clearly this is just going to be the morning of me peppering you with questions because I'm very curious. Because I am not a writer, not even a little bit, not even pretend, not. Boy, sometimes even if I have to, I will do everything I can to get out of it. Just not good at it. But for you, what's the most fun to write? Are they like short stories or comics or novellas or novels?
Ooh.
Because I know you've written a number of different lengths and types of things.
Yeah. That is a great question. I think I have probably the most fun with the comics.
Okay.
Because the length of it is good for my attention span.
Oh, feel that in my bones. Oh. Mhm.
I love creating novels, but oh my god, it takes me forever. I am like the George R.R. Martin of like novel writing. It's terrible. It's terrible. And I know this. I find it easier to pop out like a novella or a short story or but I'm also not good at short stories because I'm wordy. So, like Secret Gold was supposed to be a short story and about, 5,000 or 6,000 words in, it's like, yeah, this is not I'm on chapter 2.
Whoops.
So, I would say writing for comics is probably the funnest out of all of them, but I enjoy the the sense of like fulfillment from finishing a novella or a novel.
Oh, I bet. I bet that's much like creating a single illustration, very, very fun. Creating a whole like 8-page comic story, very fulfilling, but totally different brain, totally different time frame, type of work, amount of work, all the things. So, yeah, I feel you.
Right now, I am hoping that this will make sense when I change the layer a little bit after putting down all the color.
Well, and I watched a very cool video on coloring because I've been, like I said earlier, I can't remember if we were live or not. I've been trying to work on coloring and get better at it. It is an incredibly slow and frustrating process, but I'm doing it. But the thing I was watching was all about gradient maps because I feel like my value well, that sounded a lot deeper than I meant it to. My ability to control value in my art, not my personal value. We're not getting that deep on a Saturday morning. No. But like coloring in grayscale, I feel like I've got a good amount of lights and darks and stuff like that. And the whole thing then is you put a gradient map over top of it, and it works with the grayscale that you've put in. And it's very, very cool. Yeah, I'll send you a link. It's very cool. And then you can go in and you can kind of like, just like you would with a regular gradient, drop in points for different colors. Yeah. And unfortunately, I watched someone do it very detailed and very skillfully explained in Photoshop, which is not what I use. So I need to actually watch the how do you do this in Clip Studio, which I'm positive will be very similar, but it was one of those where I was like, that's helpful. Kind of. To a program that I do not use anymore.
It's helpful in theory.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I've just recently heard about gradient maps, and I'm like, what is this thing you people are doing?
Tell me more.
Tell me more.
Well, oh my gosh, like reference layers and clipping masks and layer masks and all of that's like, I've literally watched like 10 different tutorials talking about it, and I've utilized it like once, but I can only do it following along step by step with the tutorial. Left to my own devices, I'm just like, ah! No.
I feel like a lot of that stuff I might do. I just don't have the terminology for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, it's always funny to me because it's usually conversations with my students or my students' parents. Um, Often a conversation spun off of going to art school. And I was like, okay, I just need you to know that the amount of information that's out there and available is so different than what I had access to, whether through my own inability to operate the internet or just, YouTube wasn't what it is now. Like, you couldn't just type in and say, Clip Studio, how do you do this thing? And then at least 3 videos pop up for whatever thing you want to do. Like, that was not the world we were existing in.
And the
So,
way you did things definitely was not the same as today.
yeah. Well, getting to play around and Procreate, which I only did for the first time like a couple of years ago, and I was just like, oh my God, this is like 4 of my college programs all smashed together in such a unique and like well streamlined thing. Holy butts. Yeah. Which, hey, that actually beautifully segues me into, I want to possibly, if whatever weird Prime Day is happening in October, or just for regular Prime Day in November, I would like to invest in an iPad with Procreate. So I would love to pick your brain about what to look for and what to get, because
Oh, absolutely.
it is time.
Join us.
One of us. Well, I'm finding too. The drawing tablet I have, I friggin' love. Like, it is made digital art so different and just amazing for me. But I'm looking into, I was like, I wish I had a way to do portable stuff. And because I'm teaching more Procreate classes now, I would like to have time to develop more like teaching handouts that I could digitally have in the iPads that I teach at the studio, like ready for the students, like different activity sheets and different stuff for them. So since I can't just yoink the ones from the studio, I was like, I think you should just own one yourself. That I think it's time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
Well, the first thing you'll have to figure out is which screen size is most comfortable for you.
I'm definitely I think I'm going to try and force myself to I can't figure out a way to say this without it sounding dirty. For so many years, I worked on a very small Wacom tablet because I was like, this is efficient and I can make this work. And there were times when I'm like, no, it's not great, but it's okay. And then I had access to a much bigger one. And I was like, oh, there are parts of this that really are just easier because of the size. But, as you get bigger in size, you get more expensive. So I was always like, well, if I go with a really small one, then I can save some money there. But I'm to the point where I'm willing to spend a little bit more money to save myself the headache of that part of it. So, yeah, I think as long as I can, as long as it can be handheld for my tiny little hands, my little raccoon paws, I think we'll be good. Yeah, but I know because I do think animation will be a part of what I'm working on. I definitely want to make sure that I've got enough processing power to do that, because like you get to a certain point where it's like you get 75 frames and I'm like, that's not enough to do much. But okay.
That is the one downside to Procreate, I will say, if I had to pick something, is that especially for, I like to do big files for print so they could go large, or if you have something that somebody's like, I want a banner, and it's like you get 2 layers, and I'm like, I can't work like that. I'm a layer junkie.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, there's been times, especially when I'm practicing like different stuff, like I'll get to the point where I've got like 25 layers and I will eventually start like combining them down and everything, but yeah, give me all them layers.
It's like, I'll condense later, but first I need 26 layers.
Okay, just gotta. Ooh, nice. Honestly, Lost Lammy, I was debating. So my laptop that had been my primary computer for a long time is still very functional, but it's not friendly for art stuff, and it's not travel easy. Like, it's great if I have it set up in my kitchen or my living room, it's fine. But the internet connected bit of it falters sometimes. So I had to buy a USB thing to connect to the internet. So one of the USB slots is done, and that's kind of tough to travel with. So I had thought about getting a Chromebook just to have a traveling laptop. But again, I was like, or we could maybe just push it all towards iPad, and because I have a portable keyboard, you could do. Oh, Hebe says, I'm currently exploring the big scary world of e-ink tablets because I want to take notes. I'm sick of notebooks and having papers everywhere. Well, if you're looking to get rid of notebooks, I am a terrible ADHD hoarder notebook fiend. And I constantly buy new ones and constantly give me all the pens, all the paper. I will die in this paper boat that I have built for myself. I did just buy those 2-line pens because I saw them on TikTok. And they're the ones, so they've got 2 different colors, but the biggest one I was excited about is there's a red and a blue one, and you can ink it at the same time, and it makes it 3D. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So,
Oh, that's really cool.
yeah. I will have them. Are you doing Twin Tiers this year?
Yes, I will be at
So I
Twin
will
Tiers
bring
this
them so
year.
you can play with them.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if it's an artist thing or just like a creative thing, but like fancy pens and fancy stationery. I have no need for fancy stationery, but I will buy it. I will buy notebooks I will never open. It's a problem.
It's a problem.
I have like a whole roll of washi tape, like a whole stack of washi tape that's just
Yep. It's, dude, I have to be so careful in the stationery aisle because I'm just like, these pens look cool. This, I could use this notebook, this journal. And I'm like, you're not going to. And I was like, but I could. Maybe this will be the thing that changes me as a person.
This will be the one. This is the one I'm actually gonna use.
Yep.
It's like that that meme, the person that shops at a Hobby Lobby and the person that actually does the crafts are 2 different people.
Oh, yeah. That is an accurate statement. Also, Hebe coming in with the absolute truth of if I put it away in a drawer or stack it somewhere, it's gone and dead to me and it no longer exists and I'll never see it again until I find it and be like, oh yeah.
This was a thing that I was going to do. Why didn't I do it?
Why am I this way? Yeah. It's fine. It's all fine. Oh yeah. But I love that it's called executive dysfunction because that makes it sound like it gets paid a lot to do nothing. Yeah. I'm highly skilled at my dysfunction. So bad.
Spin a negative into a positive.
Yeah.
Wasn't the putting away something and forgetting it exists, isn't that object permanence or lack thereof?
Yep. Also an ADHD thing. Neato. Nope. I need the notes in front of me at all times. Yeah, you're not wrong. That's yep. Yep. I ended up taking one of the like weekly planner sheets. So it's a like a pad that you can rip pages off of it. So I would take that, I'd write that all out, and I put it up on the fridge just because I was having I've got everything in my Google Calendar, which, dear Lord, if I ever don't have that, I am completely lost because my whole brain lives there. But it was nice to have a visual representation of stuff. Like, okay, make sure you don't forget this thing, or remember that this is coming up this week. Like, that was a small, but again, it was very much it's literally in front of my face every time I go to the fridge, like a child. Oh, really? I was gonna say I live and die by my Google Calendar. Like, I have it shared with a few people so that if they have questions about what I'm doing, I'm like, here, just that's my brain. I'm not gonna know off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to pull it up. So, like, my mom and my sister, I'm like, just look at the calendar. I can't tell you what I'm doing. I don't even know what day it is.
I'm the same. I live on my Google Calendar.
Well, I have a small hope that coming up through like October and November, my schedule gets a little more consistent. So I'm hoping that that's going to kind of help let me get into some sort of groove or something, because it's just been very all over the place for a few months now. And I think my biggest fear right now is missing a deadline, like knowing I needed to do something but not being on top of like when it's actually due, or how that date actually relates to what day it is. Like those are the ones where I sit there, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work on this thing, but is there another thing I'm supposed to be doing? Like that's been a current stress for me where I'm just like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Keep of her eyebrows at all.
That one's always rough because it's like you go through your like task list and everything, and you're like, I think I've done everything. I hope I've done everything.
Well, I hope I've done everything. Yep. Which is why I will say, going back to the working with someone on a logo design or anything like that, like I don't mind. I mean, it might stress me out, but I don't mind it if a person who I'm collaborating with is like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a little bit. I just wanted to check in. Because honestly, genuinely, sometimes it has fallen off my radar and the reminder is helpful. Especially for projects, because I get a lot of people who are like, oh, there's no specific deadline on it. I'm like, don't do that. Don't tell me that, because then it will never happen. Hold me accountable, because I cannot hold myself accountable. Yeah. So bad. Top. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah. Yep. It's a very silly thing, but I realize, one, because I don't make model sheets a ton anymore, but I so rarely draw characters full front anymore. And I was like, oh, my full front symmetry is very bad. Like, woo! That's not it at all. What were you doing there? And it's not like I will draw a character multiple times. It's not like I can't draw the character the same way, but it's just one of those where I'm like, I don't ever draw this angle anymore.
I'm not gonna lie, I have kind of been cheating on digital art when I do like just the full front, and I'm like, I'm just gonna take this side and copy it and paste it and flip it.
What up, Symmetry Tool? I see you. Yup. Well, and I feel like full front is one of the least exciting poses, like, but it's useful. Like, you need it. You need to be able to see what the character looks like. But it's not an exciting pose. It doesn't give any personality. Like, it's just literally so you can see the layout of the character. So, I don't get too worked up about it, but it was definitely funny where I'm just like, oh, none of your features match. That's cool. That's an interesting choice we made there. So as far as, I know we teased it a little bit earlier, but as far as the zine, was that something that you had in your brain for a while, or I'm curious where the inspiration and the process for that came?
So back, what year was it?
Huh? Mhm.
20. I want to say 2018 is when we did Gymcation, the Steven Universe scene.
Okay.
So that was my first like work as a mod on a collaborative zine. For those of you who don't know, the general process for collaborative zines these days is you have like a team of mods that take on different responsibilities of the project. Where in the old days you might have like a project coordinator and everybody just submits their stuff and then you put it together and it's this wonderful collaboration of creativity. So I got to experience doing it that way. And then in 2020, I got my second chance, but that project actually imploded before it was finished. So
Oh.
I had a positive and a negative. But after Gymcation, in between, after Gymcation is when I was like, if I were to do one, I would really like to do like a space themed romance anthology, like, combining the two things that I love,
Yeah.
the romance genre and space or stars or something like that. So actually, I had set up the Tumblr page back then with this idea that I would eventually get to it. I had asked a friend of mine if she wanted to do it together because that was the only model that I knew was the mod model, and I was like, well, we could co-mod, not have a
Yeah.
whole team, but she was too busy, and other projects kind of took over in the interim. And then when I was looking at, every year I try to sit down and I plan out like what shows I might want to do and what projects I'm going to focus on. So late last year, I was like, I would really like to try that zine idea. I'm in a place where I don't really have another huge project going on, so it would be a good time to start thinking about it. And then timelines for other projects kind of shifted, and I was finally like, you know what? We're just gonna do it. We're doing it. We're doing it right now. So it's a tighter deadline than I had originally planned because I do want the zine to be released, in February.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be for Valentine's Day, but around would
But
be
around.
nice,
No, and that, yep, it makes sense. It's smart.
So I was like, we're just gonna do it. And I pitched the idea to a couple of artist friends and everybody was like, I love this idea. And I'm like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna plan myself out of doing it again. I'm gonna tackle it.
Yep. That's awesome. Blech. Well, I think it's an interesting thing, and it directly ties into, kind of what we're working on today with the pipeline is, I don't think, I mean, I think now because 3D movies have been out for so long, people have a better understanding of how long it takes to make animated movies and stuff like that. But I think the understanding of the amount of pre-production time, I think, was very unknown for a long, long time, where people just didn't realize. I was like, you don't understand how much work went into this before you even started seeing anything. So I think it's fascinating, the fact that you would start the year looking at like, okay, so I'm planning this in January of 2022 with the expectation of having a final project in 2023. Like, that's a weird brain space to be in.
It is. It is. I guess it helped that I was like, I had that goal of I want this released sometime around Valentine's Day. How much time do I have to give myself? And I was like, I was actually planning on starting the process earlier in the summer, and the summer just kind of got away from me a
Dude,
little
this
bit. But
summer. Yeah.
oh, it just I
Yep.
don't know where it went. But yeah, so then I was like, okay, well, it's not the tightest deadline in the world. It's like 2 months for the creation process.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, yeah, that could be doable. And it's short enough. Sometimes with tighter deadlines, people get excited, they get their piece done, and then they get to see it.
Yep.
Whereas I was a part of one zine that started last year, and it was like a whole year before the final files were due. And the amount of people that just kind of dropped off, like if you weren't excited and you got your stuff done, like there were so many people that just dropped off because it took too long.
Yeah. No, I definitely think, and we mentioned it earlier with give me a deadline, and give me a deadline that's not like 2 years from now, because I can't. No, I want to, and it's not that I can't recreate and recapture the enthusiasm and excitement over a piece, but there's something very, very special about like getting that, like, oh, I have my idea and I really want to get into working on it. Like, that's a good place to be.
It's a
So
very good place to be.
yeah. So I think, kind of pushing people just a little bit, especially because, we're not creating full comics. That's always my thing. Whereas I can have the excitement, but like full page comics just take longer. It's just more things and more elements. So, you know, with singular pieces, I feel like you get a little bit, or along those lines, you get a little bit more
And
room for
that's
shuffling.
something that I didn't want to do to people. So I was like, we'll just do illustrations and stories. And then there were like 4 people that were like, "Can I make a comic?" And I'm like, in a 2-month turnaround, that's gonna be kind of tight. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a
Yeah.
good idea.
But it's cool because if there is that much interest, maybe it means, later on, part two of this is little stories, and it is a collection of comics if you have people who are, that excited to make comics.
That's what I thought. I didn't intend it for this project, but I'm like, I mean, I really enjoyed being part of the 2 comic anthologies Splattered Press put on, so I would not be opposed to running a project like that where you do short comics and people could either pair up or be sole creators.
Yep.
I think that would be awesome.
No, I loved the two ones I've been in with Red Stylo. I have adored it because I get paired with a writer, so I don't have to write crap, and I just get to illustrate and do the parts I love. Like, it's awesome. So yeah. Okay, not gonna lie. I keep sneaking peeks and I'm so freaking excited. She looks so cool.
I'm not trying not to sneak peeks, but everything I've seen on your end looks really cool so far.
Oh, thank you. She's fun. She's fun. She's giving me like all of the She-Ra Sailor Moon. Like, you couldn't have given me a better character to just go full ham on. Like, I'm so happy. Yeah.
Awesome.
If I keep getting quiet, it's because I'm just genuinely enjoying so much, like digging into it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to talk. Well, I was talking to a friend recently. It was related to animation specifically, but it was kind of the, and I know there are all different types of artists, and artists approach their work in all sorts of different ways. But I said, something, and especially in college, that was challenging for me is when the project was to test your animation skills and complete a final animation, but you also had to ideate the character, ideate the setting, ideate the story. I struggled a lot because I didn't naturally have just a ton of stories ready to go. But if you could have just given me like a little bit of like, here's a very rough character start, like that would have helped me kind of jump into it. So the like getting to bring somebody else's idea or character to life was so much a part of what I love to do. And I said, just putting that out there that there might be students who are like that. And I mean, I am so envious of the people who are like, no, I've got 13 OCs ready to go right now. Like, you give me even a little bit of a prompt and I've got a person for it. I'm like, that's so cool. I don't understand that. So it was kind of a nice, I was like, just throwing that out there for the kids who, really love the art creation, but maybe don't have that same well.
I wonder if that's why like the adoptables market is like such a thing, is that you've got people that can sit there and like just throw out characters all day, and then people can adopt the character and kind of do what they want with them.
I think so. And I feel like that's a pretty interesting pipeline from the dress up dolls OG people, where it was just like, I made you all of these elements. Now you build your own character, but it's still, you are building your own character, but you're working within a very set parameter. Like, there's restraint on it. There's confines to it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's in a, we talk about it, and I feel good that I've gotten to a place where it doesn't happen to me as often, but I'm not as intimidated by a fully blank page anymore. I can at least put something down to get myself going, but I think that's still a genuine struggle for people. Like, and also going way back to working with clients, the completely blank page where they're like, draw whatever you want. I'm like, no, don't do that. I don't know anything. I don't know how to draw anything. I don't know any character. Give me something. Give me some small kernel to start on. I'm like the clams with the pearl. Like, you just got to give me that little bit of grit first, then I'll take it and make something beautiful. But you just throw me a little piece of dirt, and I'm good to go. Do you have a lot of shows left for this season? Or are you wrapping up?
I'm pretty much wrapping up. Twin Tiers is going to be the last show for the year, so.
Nice.
Although I've seen like a bunch of people kind of throwing in their hat last minute, like, who was it? Somebody at one of the recent shows I was at, they're like, oh, we're like the weekend before Twin Tiers, like November, like the first weekend in November. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of done for the year, but awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I have Baltimore Halloween weekend.
It's the same weekend as Halloween?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I had a buddy who wanted to split a table because I wasn't originally planning on doing it. And then 20 years after that. But I was like, that's a good amount. Like I'm feeling it. And I was like, nope, I'm ready to, kind of take a moment and recollect myself and figure out.
How many shows have you done this year besides like the pop markets?
I did Pittsburgh. I did Erie. I did, oh goodness, what else did I do? Where have I been? I didn't do a bunch in summer, Dragon Con, Wellsboro. I'm trying to look at all my weekends. Pittsburgh. Oh, okay. Yeah. So like Pop Market, I did Heroes and Villains up in Cortland. I feel like I had one other little like one day show. I'm not totally remembering. So not a ton. Definitely not the most I've done in a season, but yeah. Ithacon, right? Good call. I'm glad you remember. Yeah. not a ton of traveling, a lot of local stuff. But yeah, just felt busy.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this was the year like getting back into it. Like I know I didn't do a lot of shows and I stayed mostly local as well, but it's like, whew, it's been
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah. I think a big part of it too is I was out of practice. We haven't done this for 2 years. So like
Mm-hmm.
getting back into it, and those weekends are a lot. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love it, but you're tired. By Monday you're tired, and I think so much of this year was I had to go back to work on Monday or go back and do something, whereas in previous years, because I was in a good flow, like I'd take Monday off and use it as a recollect day and kind of get all my stuff together and then jump back in. But yeah, so I think everybody was also just trying to feel it out again and get used to it and all the things.
Yeah, it's definitely felt like that this year. Like just everybody's like, oh, we're going back to doing this thing and adjusting to it.
Yep. Well, I think at least for me, leading right up into the pandemic, I was getting ready to go through like a rebrand and a redo of my setup. And then when pandemic happened and everything closed down and we weren't doing it, I didn't work on it because I had other stuff I had to focus on. So coming back into this, it's turned into a hodgepodge of half of the new ideas that I want and not enough time to implement everything else. So, I think that's part of why I'm feeling a little bit more scattered with it, because I was like, okay, like we got close to having a fully fledged plan, but we weren't actually didn't actually do it.
There was a plan for a plan.
There was a plan for a plan. Story of my life.
Yeah, mine's been a little weird because I didn't really have as much merch stuff before, but because of the pandemic, I really focused on my Etsy. So it's like, what stuff do I want to bring to the table, or do I want to keep the focus on like prints and books?
Right.
And figuring that out this year has been fun.
Yeah, the getting to adopt my setup though to focus primarily on the stickers, which are so easy to transport. I'm like, well, this is lovely. Love this for me. Not even to cart around a whole, 18 boxes worth of stuff. I'm like, okay, all right, I see you. Ah, no, okay. So I have two brushes. I absolutely love in Clip Studio. One of them lets me use keyboard shortcuts to rotate the canvas. One of them does not. So I went to do it and I was like, oh, I'm not doing it. I was like, oh, because you've been inking with a different brush. But they are very, to the untrained eye, they're basically the same, but they feel a little bit different. So it was just funny. Where it's like, ah, sneaky, sneaky.
It's like, oh, this is why this is not working.
Yeah. Also, just another random Clip Studio thing that I was very excited about. So you can record time lapse of your canvas, which is awesome, which I know Procreate can as well. But I guess kind of actually paying attention to it, realized that it doesn't, it only records the canvas in the same aspect ratio. So as much as I like flip mine and turn it and do all of these things, it doesn't pick up any of that. It just picks up like your lines in the same thing. So it's not it's not an unpleasant sensory experience for the viewer. And I can still draw the way I want to. So I was very excited about that. I was like, oh, look at you.
Oh, that is nice.
Nice.
I want to say the Procreate time lapse is the same because I'll rotate and zoom in and zoom out, and if you were to watch that sped up, it would be very like, oh my god.
Yeah. Like, possibly might induce seizures. Maybe don't watch. Sorry.
Come with its own warning label.
Yep.
Yeah, I did notice that when I used to make like my own when I was working in Photoshop and stuff, the speed paint videos. And then you sped up the video and it was like wah 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 wah. I was like, oh no.
Nope. Hate that. Yep.
No, thank you.
Yeah, ideally I'd like to not give my partner seizures. That would be great. Not today, microphone. Not in the mood. Oh my gosh. So it was naturally, a few moments before the podcast was about to kick off. And I was trying to get everything set up on my computer. And for some reason, I don't know if something was stuck, something glitched. I had restarted twice already. But anytime you opened any new window or even like clicked your sound bar or anything, it would automatically scroll without like it was like control was held down and you were trying to do something but nothing. So I ended up Thomas and I had to literally unplugged all the USB, unplugged my soundboard, unplugged everything, and then like one at a time plugged things back in. And thankfully it has stopped. It's been fine since, but I was like, what is happening? Like pulling up Task Manager, I'm like, there's nothing running. What is going on? And nope. Just I was like, okay, just for funsies. Cool. Love that.
Just weird technological glitch, huh?
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yee.
Yeah. I was like, no. Like, there's definitely been times where I've been like, oh, clearly the part of my tablet is sitting on my keyboard and it's holding the space bar down. That's why it's going nuts. Like, I was like, oh, it's probably just doing something stupid. But yeah, could not figure out. I still don't know, like, what caused it, which is super weird.
Oh, that is weird.
Talking about puzzles and design. Love puzzles and design. Don't love puzzles in my tech. No, nope. I don't want a mystery here. All right, I gotta look up reference real quick for something, and I think I want to do one more pose for her. I'm feeling good. I'm gonna do some detail work. Okay. Ooh, okay. Aha. Yep. Do you usually do all of your own self edits, or do you bring in a specific editor on projects?
Oh, a little bit of both. For Secret Gold, I definitely hired an editor to go over it after I had gone through a couple times. Beta readers are also an excellent source for writing. You know, when somebody reads it, if something doesn't make sense, they'll be like, wait, this doesn't make sense. I
Right.
actually, in A+B, I did self edits and I let my husband look over it because he will flat out be like, I don't get this. What is happening here? And he pointed out that there was a little thing in the middle that, you know, he's like, it kind of feels jumpy. And I'm like, well, it's a comic. It's okay if you jump around a little bit. And, you know, I sent the script off to my artist, and when he drew those pages in that middle part, I was like, no, no, we need a transition here.
Like, oh shoot.
Like, should have listened, I guess, to the advice I was given. But it worked out. So there's a little mini scene in the middle of A+B where Arissa, the main character, is like talking to her locket. And it's just like this quick 2 pages of her expressing her feelings and like her point of view. But it's really needed between the two major scenes on either side.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's so funny. It's a fascinating thing because so often it's either like, nope, this explanation isn't needed, like this extra exposition because the setup already makes sense, or the complete other end of like, no, you really need to just have this moment to kind of get the audience on the same page as you. And I love that part of it because it's not a set formula every time. Like sometimes you're like, no, you're good to go. And other times you're just like, wait, what? What's happening?
Yeah, I definitely recommend, even if you're doing your own edits, to have at least one other pair of eyes, if not a couple, take a look at it before it hits the final stage. And I've seen a lot of self-published authors say the same thing. Like they go to book launch, they've edited their books themselves. They're like, I'm pretty sure there's no typos in it. They launch it on Amazon or wherever they're publishing it, and the first few reviews might be the pacing's off, or I didn't understand what happened with this character, or something to that effect, that if they had taken the time to get beta readers or maybe an editor to look at it, it probably wouldn't have happened.
Right.
But, so always recommend a fresh set of eyes, especially with writing.
Yeah.
It's good with art too, because sometimes things are funky and you may or may not catch it before you post it on social media.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and it's, I feel like it's the thing, whether it's writing or whether it's drawing. Like at a certain point, after you've personally looked at something so many times, you don't see the stuff anymore. I remember, again, because I struggled with writing, I got a great piece of advice back in high school. And it was when you were double checking your work to actually read it out loud to yourself, which always felt silly. And I was like, I don't want to read my own words out. But I would catch points where I had forgotten to put a word in because I was typing so fast or thinking so fast, like I'd missed stuff like that. So it let me slow down enough that I could catch things that sounded weird or were off. But, it's little stuff like that where you're just like, if you can take yourself out of it, it's a little bit easier to look from the outside in, but that can be very tricky.
That can be. That can be. I know with art, like especially if I'm working on a big project, I like to actually push it as far as I can or think I'm finished and then close it and try to look at it a day or two later. Just give my eyes that break, because almost immediately when I open it back up, I'm like, oh, there's like a white spot here, or this isn't quite right, or those eyes do not line up.
Yeah. Yeah.
God bless the push tool. The liquefy tool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it's hard sometimes, especially, times when I'm on a tight deadline. Like the thought of not just having it done and being able to walk away. I was like, nope, you gotta take a break. You gotta, even if you work on something else, you gotta space yourself away from this so you can go back and be a little bit more objective.
You gotta at least blink. You gotta
Yep.
at least take that moment to blink and come back to it.
Yep. Oh, goodness.
The other thing I found super helpful, and I don't remember, I think it was a YouTube tutorial I saw this on last year. I was like, when you get either your sketching done or your line art done, depending on how you work, take a moment to flip it. Because when you flip it, if there is something anatomically like way out there, it's going to be glaringly obvious.
Yep. Anyone who hangs out with me on Fridays and watches my channel, you'll frequently hear me be like, oh goodness, we're gonna flip it and we're gonna see how we did. Because nope, I flipped her earlier and I was like, well, okay, she's a little skewed. We've been drawn at an angle apparently, so we gotta fix that.
Gotta unskew her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I especially like when I'm designing acrylic standees that are going to be double-sided. That is super important because it's got to look good backwards and forwards.
Yep. The one that used to really trip me up was I would design something for a t-shirt, not necessarily thinking or knowing what color the shirt and the print were going to be at the end, and having it go from being a black image on a white background to being a white image on a black background. So it essentially is a negative of it, which characters they look weird if you just invert the colors. Like if I had known it was going to be on a black shirt, I would have highlighted it differently. I would have drawn it differently to accommodate that. But, to just flip it like, well, we want to, we're going to have blue print on orange shirts, but then we're also going to have white print on black shirts. I'm like, those can't be the same image. Yeah. So
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that.
I know you think it will, but it doesn't.
Like, no, it looks weird. That looks weird and it's out there. And like, no, it's fine. I'm like, no.
It's not okay.
It's not okay. Yes. And I think also, as we were talking about, getting a second set of eyes, especially from like, I genuinely appreciate artist feedback. Like, I will send my stuff to a number of my art friends and be like, hey, is this okay? Does this work? Like, give me artist feedback. But it also helps sometimes to have people who aren't artsy. And I think this is all speculation, but I've been doing this for a few years now, so I feel pretty confident in it that I have friends who are nervous to give feedback because they're like, well, I'm not an artist. I don't know what to say. And I was like, honestly, I don't want your opinion as an artist. I want your opinion as a regular consumer, because what does this look like to you? Does this make sense? It might not be subject matter that you understand. Like, if they don't watch a ton of Magic Girl anime, like, you might not get all the little nods that we put in there, but like, how does it make you feel? What do you think when you see it? Like, that's important to me, because that's good feedback. Because see, it's good feedback and it's helpful. Also, what up, Kurt? Happy Saturday. Also, I'm just imagining your adorable husband giving you feedback, and it warms my heart.
See, my problem is I don't show him something until it's done, though. So it almost never fails that I'm like, look at this great print I just ordered of this art. And I'm so excited to have this new print. And he goes, I'm like, what? What is it?
What? Tell me.
Well, you should have made this a little bit bigger, or like this from far away doesn't make sense. And I'm like, why do you do this to me every time?
Gosh darn it.
And then I realized, well, maybe I should show it to him before I get it printed, and that would probably be more helpful.
Yep. But hey, sometimes artists, we don't always work in our best interest. Sometimes that's the harder path.
So it's the most satisfying thing in the world when I'm like, hey, check out this sketch card I just did or whatever. And he's like, oh, that looks awesome. I'm like,
yes. Yes. And, just as we're talking about giving advice and feedback, like, there's definitely, if I'm really struggling with a piece, or if I'm really trying to cover all my bases, I will show it to 2 or 3 people. But there is a thing of, each person is going to have their own feedback. And sometimes I will get 4 different responses and 4 different feedbacks on the same piece. And I either can't or don't want to incorporate all of the changes. Because some of them are like, man, but I really just don't feel like that's the right way to go for this piece. So, it's nothing wrong with getting feedback, but also that having the confidence to not necessarily make every change that you get.
Yeah. Take it with a grain of salt. Not all feedback is going to be helpful, or not all feedback is going to work, but it is something to always consider.
Yes. Yes, Kurt, exactly. Not calling out anyone specific, where, showing things to people and getting feedback. Yes, I think that's a great way to do it. Kurt says I have a close knit, quote unquote, brain trust. And then it says if any changes are warranted or if I'm happy with what I've got. Absolutely. And again, there's definitely been times where I've gotten feedback, and, well, it might even like, no, this is great feedback. It just, I like how it is, and I'm okay that I don't make that change. So, and it's also, that's why it's so great to have a great brain trust like that, because you have friends and you have people who give you feedback who aren't going to be offended if their change isn't made. Like, you gave your opinion and you let it go. Like, that's what I want in someone giving me feedback. It's oh, don't you do that, microphone. The difference in working with a client. When I'm working with a client, their feedback I have to make those changes on. You can't ignore them. They get very mad when you do that. Yep. Kurt says working with clients is very different because you might be wrong, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's the best part is they could be flat out wrong. Doesn't matter. Gotta listen to them. Oh, that made it worse. Oh, God. Okay.
That's always fun though, when you're like, I really don't think you want bright pink. And they're like, no, I want bright pink. And you're like, okay, here you go. And they're like, oh, that looks awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and very much, at a certain point, I have had logos that went out the door that I didn't personally like. I was like, I think that looks bad, but the customer's happy and I'm paid. And you know what? It doesn't have to go in my portfolio. I don't have to claim it. If they're happy and I made my money, doesn't matter. But there's definitely times where, like, I usually put together like 4 to 6 different designs if I'm working with someone brand new, and initiating a logo. And sometimes one of them will be like what they initially told me, which I thought was a bad idea. But I'm like, I'll put this in here so you can see what that looks like. But there's always that moment of you're rolling the dice because there's a 5% chance they're going to pick the bad one. And then you're going to be sad because you end up having to do the bad one. And you're like, oh, I gave you 4 other great things and you picked that one. No.
But that's what they wanted. And
Yep.
that's probably the hardest thing about designing for other people, is that they want what they like, and it might not be your aesthetic. Or, from a design point, you might be like, that's not great, but that's what they want.
That's what they want.
And they're happy.
Oh, Kurt, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of it because I don't do a lot of voiceover. But Kurt says with voiceover, bad decisions largely surround grammar. I can't imagine having to like narrate a book that had grammatical errors. Well, let me put a pin in that. My grammar is terrible. I wouldn't know, but if there was a weird way in which the words were put together, or like a weird description thing that just felt weird to say and to read, like, I can't imagine like having to try and go through a few takes getting that so that it sounded as normal as you could get it. But that's funny. Yeah, I'm not going to claim that I would recognize grammatical mistakes. Like, let's not. I'm not that person.
It is weird though when you think about it, like especially as a writer, like thinking about reading any of my stuff out loud, it's like I didn't. So I can imagine if somebody was doing a voiceover, some of my sentences may seem very strange.
Also, just because, so I adore Kurt's voice. Kurt we refer to it very affectionately as hot gravy. He has the most wonderful, like, deep baritone voice. And there's part of me that would just love to have your very adorable, like, love story manga, like, narrated in deep Kurt voice. Like, that's just a whole sensory experience that I'm living for. So
I can see it. Their eyes locked across the subway.
She was feeling so giddy. Like,
she was adorable in those leggings.
I love it so much. Nope.
That's my best baritone. I do apologize.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
am not
say.
a impersonation expert by any
No,
means.
I was an alto at best. Nope. Yeah, no one can get the Kurt hot gravy. That's nope. That's not how hands work. Hmm. I think it's very interesting too, as we were talking about voice acting, like what a difference the right voice and someone who has such great skill in voice acting, like what they can do to bring a piece to life. Like it's so cool to me. And even though I do something similar just in art, like there's part of me that's like, no, like I would have just read this. I wouldn't have been able to bring the performance aspect to it, like someone who is so well trained in doing it like that. It's so cool to me.
I think it's a whole nother skill level to be able to do that kind of stuff.
100%. And like so many things, something you don't realize was lacking until you hear it executed really well. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's how this could be. Ooh. Ah. Lost Lemmy says, watching you guys draw might as well be mystical alchemy to me. I appreciate that. Well, know that it's exactly how I'm feeling when y'all are writing for NaNoWriMo. I was like, I can't even imagine it. Like it just I don't my brain doesn't understand. It was the same with so I played musical instruments all through school and enjoyed it. Like I love playing music and I love singing, but to just improvise and just play something like I couldn't. I was like I had to have music in front of me in order to play something. I could play someone else's notes, but I could never just imagine my own song like that. Nope. Again, sorcery. No, you're exactly right, Kurt. Uh, like anything, practice and coaching. I am firmly in the camp of, well, some people might be born with a little bit more natural, like physical skill in something, like, oh, my hand-eye coordination is a little bit better than this other person. Nothing will ever be just the time put into practicing it and the actual like patience and practice. Like that's how you get good. I have these moments sometimes where I can only make like a curvy shape going one way and then having to try and do it the other way. And I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't understand how that curve. And just shorts out a little bit.
So since you're going to be in Baltimore for Halloween, are you going to do anything special or dress up this year? Like cosplay at your table?
So my plan is I do have a Miss Frizzle dress, so I'm debating being a Miss Frizzle because it makes me happy. I also have my little like it's a skeleton tank top and leggings that have like the skeleton print on them. And that's fun. I'm sad because I can't find I had a mask that I had made that had like I had drawn in essentially the skeleton face so I could wear that while I was, masked up, but I don't know where it went. So I might have to make a new one. But those are the only two I have planned because they're also very easy, which is a big part of me finding success in that. But yeah, I was debating if there was anything else. So I think so. I'm going down to stay with friends. And the last time I was down there around Halloween with them, their little girl decided that the whole family was going to be cats. So I got to, dress up as a cat for the first time in 20 years,
Oh my
which was
gosh.
super fun. So I have to double check with them to see if there's been any new developments. I think we might be being cats again this year. So I have to double check and see. But yeah, I think that's about it. Unfortunately, I think everyone in my friend group who used to, there used to be a bunch of Halloween parties that would happen, but I think people are still kind of recovering and not sure if you want to have a crazy big party at your house. It's, even as we talked about earlier, it's not just COVID anymore. It's, general illnesses. So yeah. We got to figure out, Vineyard Warrior has a little one. Got to figure out when trick-or-treating is happening locally. Because Halloween itself is actually on Monday. So I don't know if, but then it's weird sometimes because then they'll do it like, I don't know. It's always weird. I can never keep up with what's happening. So
yeah, I don't like it when Halloween lands on a Monday because then like half the time they're like, we'll do trick-or-treating on Sunday night. And it's like, no, why?
I was like, can we do Saturday at least?
Yeah, at least Saturday. Come on.
It is funny though, because this is the first year in 10 years. Yes, in 10 years that I won't be in a house across the street from the crazy Halloween house. So our neighbors at the apartment I used to live at go all out. Like from September 30th, they start and they've got, like 16 to 20 large animatronics. They cover the whole house. They have things that string across the street, like lights and fog machine and effect. Like it's their Super Bowl. They go all out.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Less fun when it's like 10 o'clock at night and you want to go to sleep and the werewolf that is animatronic and makes sounds goes, "Rrr, rrr," and you're like, okay, I want to have my window open because it's still a nice night, but excuse me, sir, you're loud. So yeah, it's interesting to not be in that setting for the first time in a long time, but I should make a point of one of these days when I'm in town driving past to see how their whole crazy display is going. Yeah, I like handing out candy. It's interesting because for so many years, this time would get really busy at work and I'd just be so stressed and so overwhelmed, and like Halloween would sneak up on me and I always have these plans. I'm like, man, I really want to make a costume or cosplay or anything. And I just never did. So not looking great for this year because I'm already behind on a lot of stuff, but it's one of those where I'm like, all right, at least I'm not, stressed out to my eyeballs. But yeah, for some reason I have more trouble devoting time to being creative in a costume sense than I do in a drawing sense. I don't know why. I guess because, for a lot of this stuff, the goal is always like, oh, I could make a print, I could make a sticker, or I'm working towards a portfolio that showcases, what it would be like to commission me and stuff like that. Whereas with costuming stuff, I'm like, this is just for me, and can't do that. Can't just have a hobby that's just for me. That's just crazy.
Such crazy talk.
I know. Literally as I talk, sometimes I can just hear the therapist pen like clicking and be like, say more about that. And I'm like, nope, I'm good. Never mind. We're moving swiftly along, right past that. We don't need to focus on that anymore. Everything is fine. Exactly, Kurt. Self-care is for losers and squares. This is not true. Please take care of yourselves. Don't be like me. Yeah. Literally yesterday, the reason that stream happened so late is because I had taken a nap on the couch, and I'm just like, ugh, what are you doing? You had so much you needed to do today. Why are you being so lazy? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You literally got your COVID booster yesterday, and you're probably actually tired. Also,
Oh
you didn't
no.
sleep well because your shoulder is hurt. So I'm just like, maybe just let yourself sleep. Maybe, I don't know.
That's crazy talk.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty. But yeah, but thankfully, very luckily, I am not feeling any other adverse effects from getting boosted. So
That's good.
yeah, it's
Those
funny.
boosters are no joke, man.
Well, and that's what I'd been hearing, and I was just like, oh boy, I hope it's not too bad, but I want to get in on it when I can. And so the doctor at Rite Aid was like, yeah, how have the other ones been for you? I was like, knock on wood, honestly, fine. He's like, really? And I was like, he's like, I haven't heard that at all. I'm like, yay! Well, hello, Father. Welcome back. Yep. Did I forget that? I did. Oh, shit. Wait. All that soupy hair. I'm having so much fun with it. Are you planning to run a Kickstarter for the zine?
I am.
Nice.
So the creation period ends at the end of the month, and then planning to run the Kickstarter during November.
Okay, cool.
It's going to be a little bit different because I've run like keychain or enamel pen Kickstarters in November, but never one for a zine. So, or like a book. But I figured that would give enough time for production and everything, even if there is shipping delays.
Yeah.
To work around the holidays and still hit that February mark.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
I'm super excited and nervous about that part.
Uh-huh. Yep. That's
Kickstarters are like that though. It is a wild emotional roller coaster to run a Kickstarter.
Well, and I don't know how I wouldn't just like click on it every single day, so many times a day to check to see what, like, would drive myself absolutely mad with it. Which is exciting because if a project goes the way that I hope it does, I will most likely be running one to cover the cost of printing the book, and I'm just like, oh, good, something to look forward to. But I feel like it's one of those where it can be such an incredibly powerful tool, but it feels so very fickle to me at times that it's just the unpredictable nature of it is a stress all on its own.
It really is. And then there's like the timing is what gets me. Like, how long do you run your Kickstarter? Do you let it go a whole month? Do you only do 2 weeks? Do you do something in between? Because you want it open long enough that people know it's there, but not so long that people forget about it either.
Right. Which I am always grateful. I love that they have the saved feature where it'll remind you on some of them because it'll be like, no, I can't, like, I'm not in a place where I can book it or back it right now, but I will be. I just, remind me. But
Yeah,
also,
like this looks interesting. Remind me when it's closer to being done. And if I'm still interested, I will back it.
yep. But I know from the creator side of it, having everybody wait until the last 72 hours would make me want to lose my mind. So
It's one of those, like, in the beginning of the campaign, everybody's like, "Cool," and, you can't see if somebody's favored in it, like, you have no
okay.
idea if they're ever gonna come back, so you see the backers at the beginning, and you're like, "Cool, we got steam," and then there's this gap, and this is why I run shorter Kickstarters, is there's this middle gap where, like, there's no movement, it feels like. And then, yep, the last 72 hours, everybody has like their alerts on or, they had favorited it and they come back and it's like, okay, we'll just wait till the last minute to see if this thing's going to happen or not.
Yep.
My dream is to have one of the Kickstarter projects that get funded in the first 48 hours and then I don't even have to worry about it the rest of the campaign.
Yeah. Plus, then you get the little like plaque thing that goes up on
Oh, yeah.
Twitter. Like, yeah. Yeah, I see some of those and I'm just like, oh, wow.
Hashtag life goals.
That sounds so cool.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. Like, I do pre-campaigning and, everything, but we'll get there. We'll get there one
Yes,
day.
absolutely.
I will be in that club. And then after that, I will be in the 24-hour club. It
Yeah.
will happen.
Putting that out in the universe. You hear that, universe? We're coming for you.
Please. Please. One day.
One day. Ooh. Yep. So much thinking is happening. Love the mental gymnastics of figuring out how like certain elements will look in different positions. She's like, no, it makes perfect sense in this one pose. And I was like, how does it look in this other spot though? Like, how would that work?
I was thinking about that when I drew her shoulder pads. I'm like, that's gonna be a fun piece.
Yeah. It's an interesting challenge because I'm like, okay, so depending on where they are, they'll move with her shoulder, but then it's like, okay, so how do they crunch in and stuff? No, it's again, it's a part of the puzzle that I love of just that, like, how does it work? But yeah, I am getting to a point where I could stop or I will just keep drawing. So you let me know.
I think I am definitely gonna call it.
Hey, perfect. Perfect. All right. Ooh, when do you first do the reveal? I'm so excited.
All right. Zoom
Woo!
out.
Oh my god, she's so pretty. Oh, I love it so much.
Zoom back in a little.
Oh, she looks so good. Oh, I love it. Also, love the detail that you put in on her staff. Like, I peeped and saw that, and I was like, yes. No.
So I don't know exactly what she's supposed to be, but based on her personality, I'm like, it would make sense for her to have healing berries wrapped around this staff, I think. Let's just go with that.
Yes. Again, design creation, Emily good at. Actual character story, Emily bad at. So I love it. I'm here for all of it. Oh, she's so fun. Oh, the colors are so good. Ah, I love it so much. Thank you.
Thank you. This is so
Yeah.
much fun.
This is awesome. Hey, so where can people find you, follow you, do all of the things?
All of the things. Throughout most of the internet, I am Maegan C Creates, especially on Instagram, where I'm the most active, and it's also the name of my shop on Etsy. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, check out sales, and hey, make sure you bookmark us for November so you can back our Kickstarter.
Yeah,
I'm a small part of it. She's doing all the big stuff, but I'm in it. So
it's a very important part, Emily.
Thank you. I'm so excited about it. Oh, this is awesome. Oh, so happy. All right, I'm gonna switch you over. So you zoom out so you can see. We started with, we got her legit just full body, me figuring out how all of the pieces work. Oh, we're tilted. There we go. And then I can't get over this face of so we're doing the more benevolent Scarlet Witch like creation process, but very transfixed, very, very much. And then working off of the telepathy and, again, just full fun, floating characters floating in space.
Oh
But,
my god, I love it.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I was having so much fun. And it's great. Like as I got drawing with it, like certain elements started to fall into place more. So no, she's super fun. So these are the original sketches that I got. So kept her flying around movement. But
oh, I love it. She's so floaty. That pose is so fun. I love the backwards twist.
Oh yeah, I went full boobs butt pose. I was like, oh well, we're here now. This is what happens. But so, yeah, oh, this was super fun. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us. I know I had an absolute blast. Literally got to do the thing that I love the most for 2 hours this morning. So life is great for me. If you want to follow more of my stuff, you can find me across the internet at a Swan named Emily. If you want to follow more Doodle Crew stuff, I'm back on posting our old artwork. I'm only like 30 episodes behind, so it's good. But yeah, if you want to follow that, that's at Doodle Crew Draw all across the internet. You can find out more information about all of the artists at our link tree, which is at Doodle Crew. Also, if you like the more spicy side of Doodle Crew, we are planning dates for Loodle Crew, which is Doodle Crew After Dark. It's the 18 plus stream. So if you have interest in that, we are also scheduling dates for that. So yeah, and we got more of these coming up for October. So we'll be back. Drawing some more. So thank you all, everyone. Goodbye.